Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Green Wisdom Health Show. I'm Janet Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Lewis.
And we're here to bring you an exciting show about energy, how to get it naturally and enjoy it. So many of you out there are trying to go through this holiday season and dragging along and wishing it was over and tired before it ever really gets started. And we're here to help you get through it and give you some tips and ideas about how you can achieve good energy doing natural products, different diet changes, and that kind of things. Plus, we have a whole bunch of questions from you guys that y'all were all kind enough to write in and ask, which we hopefully have answers to all of them. If you're wondering how to ask a question on our show, we've actually added a new pop-up form on our website of Green Wisdom Health. It will allow you to write a question there that we get directly, and we may feature it on our show. You can also become a member of Shootin' Straight on Facebook with Dr. Lewis, where there is a forum there where he answers a lot of questions, and there's a lot of interaction going on. So thank you guys again for all the questions. We want to make sure we get to all of them. So we're going to need energy for that, Dr. Lewis. So can you help us figure out how to make it through the day and look forward to the day and keep smiling by the end of the day?
Well, we do inexpensive lab work and sell the best vitamins in the world, but one of the best things you can do is clean yourself up emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. The heaviest thing in the world that makes you tired is carrying a grudge. So let them go, get over it, move on. Practice makes perfect. Be careful what you practice, though. I see a lot of people that worry and have fear and worry. Actually, worry's kind of interest paid on trouble before you have the trouble, so quit it. Some people create their own storms and then they cry when it rains. Back to the Facebook group. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I don't know why more people don't do it. I was talking through the Shooting Straight with Karina from Sweden last night, and it's like, holy cow. I said, I wonder how Texas draw translates into other countries. She says it doesn't, but her sister lives in Beaumont, so she understands. So
that's funny. I tell Dr. Lewis we have so many listeners all over the world and in many countries, and I tell him, and it doesn't really register, I guess, until somebody actually joins a group like she did. And he's like, wow, that's amazing that people are listening there. So if y'all are in another country beside the United States, please join the group so he'll realize there are people out there listening. That'd just be fantastic.
I do listen to her all the time. She just doesn't know it because she's not that aware. She's too tired to be aware. Back to energy. And yes, she's a doll. She really is. Cellular energy. Let's get back to the cellular level. I talked earlier at a different podcast about how glyphosate makes the cell wall rigid, basically. So you can't get the metabolites out, the waste products, or you can't get the nutrients in. And the way to do that is glycine, although I'm really going to talk about some other amino acids and vitamins later. But one of the things you can do is, good fish oil. Most fish oil is kind of like your ex. Stinky and not very useful. So make sure you're taking a good one. But it's energy is produced in a little cellular power plant called mitochondria. And it produces something called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. And no, I don't like chemistry, so don't ask me anything beyond that. I do understand part of it, but I don't want to get into it. So, our body has so many different cells in it. And there's many, many, many of these tiny energy-producing power plants in each cell. They convert the food we eat, they convert the air we breathe into the ATP that I mentioned, and that produces an absolutely incredible, enormous amount of energy. I gave one supplement to a mixed martial arts fighter, and he says, I don't know what you're doing, but I can go 5 rounds and not get fatigued at all, and everybody else is wore out, and I just go on and on and on. He won the fight. I said, why didn't you take him out in the first, second round? He said, I broke my hand in the first round, but I had so much energy I wore him down, even with a broken hand, and that's because we gave him supplements to create this energy. And I don't normally speak this fast, but one lady says, well, you talk so slow, I have to, run your podcast at 1.25 speed just to speed it up where I can understand you. So I'm trying to speak faster, and that's hard for me to do. in Texas, we do things nice and slow and easy, like a long, slow sip of iced tea or something, or cold beer. So to do this, to make the energy, you have to have the nutrients to pull that off. And we don't get enough nutrients. You've heard me say that a million times. There's plenty of research that supports, my opinion. It's more than opinion. It's just fact. We don't really have the nutrients in our food. And I was talking to an older gentleman this morning. He says, food seems like it went downhill in the 70s. And he's probably 70 years old. And he says, things are bad. I have high blood pressure and diabetes. I said, yep, notice it's worse than it was in the 70s. He said, well, that's when I noticed the difference. I said, well, food's not the same. That's when they started dumping in glyphosate. And, our mineral levels are so low. But the mitochondria is actually packed with antioxidants, which is something I probably will get around to talking about later on the show. And you have to have the antioxidants because if you don't, you can't neutralize the free radicals before they do too much damage. And that's another thing we look for on the lab is ferritin, which is stored iron, because we get people that come in, they say, well, I'm taking iron because I was tired. And you look at their ferritin, it's like, well, holy cow, you got way too much. Too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Well, okay, maybe one or two things more is better, but...
That's a good point. Yep.
She gave me the stink eye on that one. And since I mentioned Karina, Amber in California says, you sure like to talk about people and mention people. So yes, Amber, I'm thinking about you too. One of the healthiest young ladies I've ever seen, and got the attitude to create that. So it's all about attitude and expectations and speaking it into existence. Because if you're positive and you have the positive expectations, when you take our well-educated, very targeted, higher-class supplements, it makes a difference if you have positive expectations and you're looking for the good things to be created. You're actually helping them be created by your attitude. So think about oxidative stress, and we have all kinds of things with antioxidants in them. So, just kind of go with that. I'll talk about some of the supplements if you'd like. Janet's probably got something to say by now, thank goodness.
Well, I'm wondering if there's simple things you can do, like maybe drinking vegetable juice or something like that, picking that instead of an energy drink. Would that be a good alternative to help energy?
Yes, but God in his infinite wisdom gave us fiber in these fruits and vegetables. You need to throw some of the fiber back in the drink, because the fiber, they're soluble and insoluble. That's where the probiotics can hook onto and grow. That's what you hear. Well, does your probiotics have inulin? Well, if you've got enough fiber in your diet, you don't need inulin. It's not that important. But if you have the fiber. So yes, and get organic. Now, organic may have a little bit higher vitamin and mineral ratio, but you're not getting the pesticides and hopefully not the plastics. So it can be useful.
So do drink vegetable juice, but put some of the fiber back. That's good. One of the other things I think people don't get enough of is sleep, and we've done several shows on that. But, I was talking to a lady today, and she goes, I'm averaging about 2.5 hours a night. And there's no possible way that you can have that amount of sleep and try to have a productive day the next day. I like the thing where you take an afternoon nap, because that's a great idea, although we don't get time to do that.
She takes a nap about once a year.
Yeah, every now and then it's just like, you just got to take a nap. But even 20 minutes, just shutting your eyes for 20 minutes can really help with energy levels as well.
And that's one of the things we check on lab is cortisol. It can be too high or too low. Too high means you're just running too fast. You can't shut your brain down at night and can't get a good night's sleep. And if you keep that up, sooner or later, the adrenals will bomb, crater, and go into fatigue. Of course, that drags your thyroid down too, which has a lot to do with energy production. I've had my cortisol at 7. I couldn't drink enough caffeine to get up and going. And then throughout some things that happened recently, they were good things, but they were still stressful. Cortisol went up to 21 point something, so I'm kind of running super, super fast. So you want to moderate that. And the thing to do that is some of the adaptogenic herbs, and I think Janet was going to talk about that a little later, but the biggest one that I like is called ashwagandha. We do the extract, which is really, really good. Ginkgo, Eleuthero Extract. We're getting pretty much into something called GPC, which is glycerophosphocholine, which is a huge brain rebuilder, but it puts out the fire in your brain. Then we use a lot of phosphatidylserine.
Is that one called stress response? Is that what you said?
Wow, you got a good memory. Your name taking the memory stuff.
Maybe, because that's got GPC in it.
Stress response is one kick butt good supplement.
Love it. And then do you have any other products in your arsenal that you would recommend for energy? I know I have one. My favorite is the Immune Essentials. That, we talk about that a lot now. It's full of all different kinds of mushrooms, and they are very adaptogenic herbs. And so when people are having a lot of stress, it really helps keep your energy levels up. I don't know what I would do without that product. It has been a godsend, literally.
Yeah, it's really good. We're getting a lot of good results, and we're getting some pretty good results on the lab. The white blood cells are coming up if they're historically too low on a person. Their cortisol's leveling out much more quickly. And I take it, and it definitely makes me younger than I really am. So, there's a lot of things, and you could start simple. I mean, there's a lot. N-acetylcysteine, for example, that's an amino acid, but the precursor to glutathione, which is a master cleaner upper. Yeah, I'll use that technical term. It really,
liver
cleans
detoxifier.
liver.
Yeah, and liver will make you super tired if you're toxic or your trains aren't coming through the tunnels like they should.
The liver has a lot to do with getting rid of the toxins from everyday life, and we do have more than we had back in the 70s and even before. Our liver support has milk thistle and a different herbal blend, which is, I think, artichoke and beet, if I remember right. It's got pancreatic enzymes, glutathione, then it's got the N-acetylcysteine, the precursor to glutathione. It's got the antioxidants, which, if I remember right, grapeseed. It's got alpha-lipoic acid, which I'm going to talk about later too. And it has the L-carnitine, because L-carnitine is one of my absolute favorite amino acids. It's pretty close to incredible, the things it does.
What else you got over there? He's got quite an arsenal going with the different products for energy, so I'm just going to let him talk about those, and then we'll get to the questions.
Well, let's make the women mad. One of the best ones is the Testo Essentials.
Oh, well, I've got to come back to that one. You go right ahead.
Pun intended, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
In the Testo Essentials, we've experimented with a lot of different formulas. We've had some that worked real well. Most of them were mediocre on a good day. And some of them are incredibly expensive. This is very moderate in price. But, when you get a 75, 80-year-old man come in and wink at Janet and do a thumbs up saying, it's working. And Janet says, well, congratulations. It works.
And since women do not have those same results from that particular product, the women now have one of their own that men are not supposed to take, which is called Progestavel. And women, if you want help with your stress and you want to sleep good at night and you want to have sustained energy throughout the day, try Progestavel. The directions on the bottle are a little different than what we would tell you. So email me, call me. I will be happy to tell you how to use that product. But it is fabulous. What else do you have over there, Dr. Lewis?
Some of the women come in and say, my hair stopped falling out, I'm sleeping better. And sleep is something that's pretty elusive for many people, and sometimes even for Janet and me. So the good sleep from the Progestavel is a really, really good thing. And then they start telling me other things that embarrass me. So, for you women, it'll kick butt.
That's true.
What else do I have?
What else do you have? CoQ10.
Oh, CoQ10. Yeah. Everybody needs it. If you're on a statin drug, or even if you're taking the red yeast rice, which some of those work much better than others, be aware. Everybody needs CoQ10. It's a really, really good thing. There's some that are definitely better than others.
And then another very popular one is our Pantothenic Acid Plus, I believe it's called. Complex. Pantothenic Acid Complex. Sorry, I saw it from the side there. That one also has your B vitamins in there, which B vitamins are huge at helping energy levels. And it has some of those mushrooms in there that I was telling you about, the Cordyceps. Yep. And then Eleuthero, which is a ginseng, which I love. It's a big adaptogenic herb, so it really will help keep energy sustained. So,
well, when she takes adaptogenic herbs that deals with her stress, she thinks I'm better looking, so I make sure she gets them.
That's it. But I want to make sure we answer these questions because, like I said, we had a ton of them. And then if we get some more time, we'll come back and Dr. Lewis will talk a little bit more about energy. I think he's got some other tips. Rena wrote into us and said she's had radiation for breast cancer. What is the best advice to detox the radiation out of the liver and the body tissue from the radiation treatment?
Well, when people are going through that, you should probably take potassium iodide and strontium. That helps protect you. After the fact, I've seen some women that got pretty good results with collagen and vitamin C, which we're going to get further into vitamin C in a minute. But I think all the antioxidants are a good thing. We have several of those. Vitamin E, it has to be a good vitamin E. Don't go get the run-of-the-mill stuff. It's not good. The good fish oil, the amino acids are very, very good. And you can do just the straight ones like acetyl L-carnitine or taurine, but we do have amino acid complex, and that'll help rebuild.
Okay. Thank you for that, Rena. I hope that everything gets better for you. Carl wants to know, when you have to tell or trying to tell an overweight friend with a heart condition, just diagnosed with vertigo on the day he wrote this note, amongst other things, that Special K cereal is not okay, even with 2% milk. So he's wondering, how do you tell your friend there's a lot of people out there, and we've talked about this a lot this week, actually. We've had a lot of our clients come in that are staying on the regimen of what we give them. You can tell they're obviously healthier than most people around. And then you go to family functions, especially at the holidays and that kind of thing, and you see that the other people in the family are not doing as well, and they're going downhill a little bit faster, and you try to talk to them about health, and they have a deer in the headlight look, like, y'all are on something, that ain't right. Thanksgiving we had a big get together, and I have a stepsister that's just spent $900,000 on some medical care this year, that she's had a really tough time, and they saw my little bag of vitamins, and her husband said, she's not really going to sit over there and swallow all that, is she? And I thought, I'm going to try to do everything I can to stay as healthy as I can for as long as I can. But, it's very hard to try to convince people or educate them when they look like they've got this deer in the headlight look. So Carl's asking, how do you tell somebody? How do you change their minds?
Number one, you can't. And Carl is a really, really great guy.
He's a big sphere of influence, actually. He has a lot of people that come down here because he sends them here.
But he gets frustrated because he has a lot of answers, and people don't always, or some people don't pay attention to him. My answer would be, spend your time and energy on people that listen, and it breaks my heart to see people that have the answers but don't do it, and they die early. But you can't save some people. And as far as the sugar in there, the sugar industry, they kind of destroyed fat's reputation about 50, 60 years ago, and now everybody's discovered keto. Well, yeah, keto's probably the best way, and that's high fat and no sugar, basically. Even Kellogg's said they do not apologize for the sugar in their cereal. Well, if you want to know about sugar, you need to read, there's a Johns Hopkins report that said sugar causes cancer. Then there's a book called Cancer is a Fungus, about how we feed yeast fungus with sugar. If you want to get deep into it, go study the Warburg effect about sugar and cancer and the aggressive tumor formation. So sugar, no, you need to stay the heck away from it. And not that I always do, but I feel way, way better when I do. So go keto. You can't convince them, though, Carl. Spend your time on somebody that actually listens and values your opinion. And I've known him long enough to know that when he says something, he's right.
Yeah, it's better to go downstream than try to go upstream, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I like that.
That's
Good
right.
analogy.
Thank you. So the special in front of the K does not make it that much more special, is what I got out
I
of
think
that.
special K means special killer, but I'm not sure.
Thank you, Carl, for that question. Claudia wants to know, what is the best way to prepare herself for an upcoming surgery where antibiotics will be prescribed? And do I really need to take them? Are there any alternatives?
There's a lot of good natural antibiotics. My opinion there is you need to do exactly what the surgeon tells you to do. And I'm going to call Claudia here in a little bit. There are things that you can do that are preemptive, like when I had my horrible spider bite, me being the brilliant man that I am, I waited 5 days to go to the doctor, which was really stupid. But I was taking olive leaf, and it wasn't even the strong stuff that we have now. And they sent another surgeon in to scratch, sniff, swab it, and they couldn't find the MRSA. Look that up. That's a scary condition. They said you always get it from the spider. Anyway, I gave a lecture at 3 a.m. to the nurses about why I didn't have MRSA. They were just dumbfounded. And I said, well, I told them the history of olive leaf. And we have things that, you can take preemptive, the preemptive strike, so to speak, that and some others. But you do whatever the surgeon says. You want to be off all the B vitamins, be off vitamin E, be off bromelain, be off fish oil because it does thin the blood. But if you're high in the B vitamins, then your liver's going to detoxify your anesthesia too fast. So do what the surgeon says.
And if you do need the antibiotics, there is the specialized probiotic called Saccharomyces boulardii that goes in and cleans that back up afterwards.
Yeah.
We have it in a capsule form. It's not as strong, and we also have it in a massively strong powder. But you might get by with the capsules after surgery like that. If the antibiotics weren't too long, you could take a bottle of that and clean a lot of that back up. Sometimes antibiotics are very necessary.
Very much.
And the natural stuff is just not strong enough at that time. So now we have Kelly that would like to know, do the labs that we do they include a coronary calcium score? She heard you mention getting your coronary calcium score on the podcast before. Thank you for listening, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, when's your husband going to come in and do this? I'm worried about him because I know his history. I just love Kelly because she's like a little cheerleader that does the rah-rah and keeps me motivated. She makes it worthwhile to come to work. Coronary calcium score is really a CT scan. You can usually find them for about $100, maybe up to $300 or $400. I think everybody over 40 or 50 should get one. And they calculate the amount of calcification in the coronary arteries. And if you score 400 or more, you're in deep poo. You need to do something different. I'm sorry. Did I say that incorrectly?
That's fine.
I'm sorry. Redneck coming out. I scored a 6. They said I need to quit worrying about it. So, okay, I had enough to be a toddler. But, yeah, coronary calcium score, it's a very important thing to do, whether you have a family history of heart issues or not. So, yeah, go get one.
And on the lab panels, no, that is not a part of it. We do 12, on our standard panel, it's 12 different lab panels, and we run those very inexpensively. So to keep the cost down, we've tried to narrow it down to just the panels we thought we had to have, which is about 9 to 10 more than what your doctor thinks needs to happen.
But they've got their hands tied by insurance companies, not your doctor's fault.
Right. So, but that particular test is not one of them. And Kelly also wants to know, what do you recommend for quick pain relief beside the typical Tylenol and ibuprofen? She doesn't like giving those to family or friends. Good job, Kelly, because I don't like taking those either because it makes you super toxic.
Yeah, it messes up your liver. I like bourbon. I'll let Janet answer that one.
I
do. I really do.
Yeah. There's things like turmeric that you can give somebody, the turmeric complex. It's good for pain.
Yeah.
We have another one that's called Phyto Ultra.
Phytocore.
We don't know what it's called. It's called Phyto something.
We changed a lot of names, so we're still confused.
And it's for pain. If you look on the website, it'll be under there as pain.
Yeah.
But I think it's Phyto Ultra Comfort.
Yeah.
And we do that in place of Tylenol and ibuprofen.
And quercetin bromelain works wonderful. I put people on that when they have a high C-reactive protein, which means high chance of heart attack and stroke based on inflammation. But people say, well, geez, my gut feels better. Geez, I'm thinking more clearly. Geez, my arthritic pain goes away. Well, it's because it's an antioxidant and anti-inflammatory.
Right. And then we have Penny that would like you to explain the different forms of vitamin C and tell the audience which one you should be taking.
I take two. I take the buffered C, and that's where they take it and they mix it with, usually it's a calcium of some sort just to decrease the acidity. I take that, but my mainstay is the liposomal C, and I do not recommend just straight ascorbic acid. You know, they say there's a natural one and a synthetic one. I don't like either one of them. I like the bioflavonoids to go with the buffered C because the bioflavonoids make it work synergistically greater than the sum of its parts.
I'm a fan of liposomal C because it's a very high dose because it's in fat. So that'd be my suggestion too.
Well, for example, people that have varicose veins or hemorrhoids and things like that, they need things like that. And I started bruising like an old man on Coumadin for some reason, and Janet says, well, you need this particular bioflavonoid, and she is incredibly brilliant. And I started taking it, and I don't bruise like an old man on Coumadin anymore. But you need the citrus bioflavonoid complex and things like rutin. And in ours, we have French maritime pine extract, which is the picogenol. So make sure you get a good one.
And either one of those will work. Andrew wants to know your thoughts. His GP told him that the new guidelines don't require the prostate to be checked on a regular basis. Is that true?
Well,
I wonder what new guidelines. You know, the more this goes on, the less they check. We're going to be treating our own selves here pretty soon.
Well,
we already are.
That's why we're popular.
Maybe
I think
it's
your
time.
GP didn't want to stick his finger up your rectum to feel of it. And listen, I talked my MD out of that several times. I said my PSA is a 0.8 and it should be under a 4, although the PSA is not that great of a test. When it comes up 1 point in a year, you need to go see your MD and or urologist. If it goes up 2 points, woohoo, you're in trouble and you need to get serious. So, yes, talk to your GP about that. I would always talk mine out of it, probably get the digital rectal exam maybe every 2 or 3 years, but that's between you and your MD. I think you should do a PSA because we do the percentage of free and weekly bound also, because there's a chart there to tell you your percentages or chances of it being cancer. So we do that. That's an improvement. I recommend you do it once a year.
Yeah, we've changed that where it's not just a straight PSA to the PSA with the free, kind of like the testosterone.
Yeah,
okay.
Much more accurate.
Good. Thank you for that question, Andrew. And then Joe is our last question.
Oh, wait a minute. Let me interrupt. I'm sorry, Janet.
Okay.
Hey, Andrew, you spelled prostate correctly. Most people call it prostrate.
That's true.
You spelled it correctly, so, hey, you passed the test.
Good English. So Joe wants to know, are cassava flour chips any better choice than non-GMO corn chips? And any downside?
Depends on the salsa you put with it. I was teasing with Joe about saying, well, isn't that what they make or tequila with? And somebody said, no, that's agave. And I said, I was just teasing about tequila. I gave that up about 40 years ago. It makes me do stupid stuff. And I'm not a big drinker anyway, so it didn't take much. One drink and I was stupid. I think anytime you stay non-GMO and or organic, it's good, but, that's still a lot of carbs. If you can do that and stay in ketosis, that's a good thing. And I've seen Joe on Facebook and what's that other one? Instagram. Man, you're doing something right. So whatever you're doing, you look good. So keep it up.
Now, eating a lot of carbs is another thing that'll make your energy levels go down, correct?
Initially, it will go up, and then you crash and burn later. And this goes back to GI inflammation, GI absorption, and you've got to get your B12 in, your activated B6, your 5-MTHF if you have that genetic SNP. Biotin, the Pantothenic acid she told you about, thiamine and riboflavin. If you have those B vitamins, you have to take a lot because your GI tract generally will not absorb as much. So, yeah, all of those will produce energy.
And then the other thing is to make sure you're drinking water, not in coffee, not in tea, but water. Half of your body weight in ounces of water. That will just give you tons of energy, in case you didn't know that. And then if you're doing all those things and you still don't feel good, go to our website, fill out the health survey at greenwisdomhealth.com. It will recommend a lab panel because it can be so many different reasons why you're tired. And frankly, we don't like to guess, but that lab will show us exactly what's going on. And you can get started feeling better today and go into the next year feeling great. We appreciate you listening to our show. We hope you and your family are very blessed, and we'll be here next time on the Green Wisdom Health Show.
Once again, our show has come to an end, but your hope in your health is only beginning. If you or a loved one are in need of a different outcome and are waiting for a brighter future, take the first step and go to our website and fill out the health survey. Please don't keep us a secret. If you know someone that could benefit from this podcast, please share this show with your friends and family. You're only one step away from a life worth living.